Merry Christmas, friends. Hope you're having a wonderful Christmas season. Hope you got all that shopping done, and we are so glad that you're joining us during this Christmas season here at Fellowship Church. If you've been following these midweek videos over the last couple of weeks, you know that we've been spending a little bit of time talking about the gifts that the Magi brought Jesus. A few weeks ago, we talked about the Magi bringing the gift of gold, which was a gift that was normally given to a king. So when the Magi brought gold for Jesus, they were saying, in effect, we believe that you are some kind of king. I'm sure they didn't understand all of what that meant, but they brought the gift of gold. That's a gift fitting for a king. The other gift that they brought was called frankincense. It's a form of incense, but kind of a special type of incense. And incense was a gift given to a deity. Incense was used in worship services. It was intended to be used for blessing God in some sense. So when the Magi bring the gift of frankincense to Jesus, in effect, they're saying, we believe that you're worthy of being worshiped. And they only worshiped gods. So that was pretty powerful as well. A gift for a king, a gift for a god. What about that last gift? It's called myrrh, kind of a funny spelling, M-Y-R-R-H, myrrh. It's not all that common today anymore, but it certainly was common in biblical times. Myrrh was produced from a tree. You could find that tree in those days in Africa or in the Arabian Peninsula, not really found in other parts of the world. And the gum that came from it, kind of a resin-type gummy substance, was what they used to make myrrh. And myrrh became a lotion, or maybe even kind of a liquid form if they watered it down with some other things. But myrrh was used in biblical days as a skin ointment, as a beauty treatment. It was also used for some other purposes that I'll get to in just a moment. You'd find myrrh used way back in the book of Genesis. It's one of the spices that people were using back then. You'd find it in the book of Esther, because if you know the book of Esther at all, you know that Esther is supposed to undergo some beauty treatments, and they prescribe her like this 6-month regimen of some kind of myrrh or something like that. But the most interesting use for myrrh that I see in the Bible is way at the end of John's gospel. So now we're at the end of the last gospel that was written, and there's a story there of a man named Nicodemus. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's because way back in John 3, Jesus was speaking to Nicodemus, and that's when Jesus tells him that he must be born again, and Nicodemus is scratching his head and all that. But Nicodemus, at the very end of John's gospel, is one of the people who comes and claims Jesus' body. After Jesus dies on the cross, somebody had to come and take care of his body. It was a prescription in those days. It was just something that needed to be done. And Nicodemus showed up and said, I'd like to claim his body, and I'll take care of his body in a way that's fitting and appropriate. Oh boy, did he ever. Because John's gospel tells us that Nicodemus showed up with 75 pounds of spices. They use spices to embalm the body. So Nicodemus shows up with 75 pounds of spices. That's 10 times more than he needed. And you know what he brought? He brought myrrh. Why? Well, because myrrh was very common in those days for use in embalming a body. Now wrap your head around this. The Magi show up from a long ways away. They bring Jesus 3 gifts. One of them is gold. It's a sign of a king. One of them is incense, frankincense. It's a sign of a god. And one of them is myrrh. It's something they used for embalming a body. Unless the Magi already had some kind of an idea that Jesus would one day die and die for the people. And they brought myrrh to anoint his body in advance. Friends, that just tells me something about Jesus' life. We see that in the gifts of the Magi, the gold, the incense, the myrrh. Jesus the King, Jesus the Son of God, and Jesus the one who will eventually die for us. Friends, I hope that hits your heart. It certainly does mine. We sure hope that you're having a wonderful Christmas season. Hope you get to spend some time with family and the people who love you. Know that we love you too, and we pray for you. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.